We're here to talk about Wolves because Bradley's been producing some fantastic content throughout the season for us. And Wolves really were one of the unexpected heroes from an FPL point of view, with some real bargains coming up for so many FPL players. Jimenez ended up being the player of the season with that 5.5 million price tag at the start of the season.
Biggest increase in value for any player.
Yep.
And so many others in terms of players that people owned all season: Patricio, Bennett, Doherty,
Yep.
Johnny, Neves, Moutinho, Hotter, of course.
Exactly.
Such stability in that team. So we obviously want to get Bradley on and speak in a bit more detail.
For sure. Bradley, which Wolves players did you own throughout the season?
I started with Jimenez, which was a big bargain in the end.
Yep.
I had Patricio at the start as well. 4.5. That's a decent starting price for a keeper of that quality.
Yep.
Funnily enough, I never really had Doherty.
Yeah.
I don't know why I've never had... I think I had him like for 2 weeks probably, and then got rid of him.
Yeah.
When he went for that, I think it was in September. He went for that period of just being probably the player of the month.
Did you
Palace assist
with Jimenez? Did you own him throughout the season? Once you
I
got
never
on him?
benched him either.
Jimenez was Bradley knows this, and I've said it a few times on the pod. The amount of times me and Bradley have been DMing, and I went, "Yeah, I'm getting him this week." 20 fucking weeks later, still not own him. Unbelievable.
There's loads of DMs off people saying, "Is it time to get rid of Jimenez?" And I'm like, "It's never time to get rid of Jimenez."
Yeah, definitely. I was like you. I had Patricio at the start of the season. I started the season with Fabianski, but I played my wild card relatively early and moved to Patricio instead of Fabianski. But looking back on that, I'd have rather stuck with Fabianski throughout, which I went back to eventually. But he wasn't a bad keeper to keep for a while.
Nah, it's just one of them set and forget guys. I mean, for his price, you can't really argue for what he just gets you, really.
Yeah.
And only 9 clean sheets in the end feels a little bit surprising, actually, when you think probably at one stage or another we all owned a Wolves defender. I mean, it was a time sort of in the early autumn where we were seeing triple ups, weren't we? Like Patricio, Doherty and Bennett, for example. Quite a few teams.
And how early did you get onto your friend Jota in the end?
Day one.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Day one, but then I had to get rid of him for a bit, and that broke my heart. Big time.
The pod listeners
I never stopped though. Yeah. Never stopped going on about him.
No, we know, mate. Pod listeners are...
I think you too. It's probably like, for God's sake, shut up.
Every week it was like the Hotter loving, even before he sort of had the really good run second half of the season. I think it kind of kicked off sort of the Chelsea game in December, maybe, Bradley. Where,
that Chelsea game changed him.
But even before that, there was signs of it. Newcastle was before that, wasn't it? That was the game I recall. It felt like, there's signs here where he'd scored and he'd had the run that created the winner for Doherty. There were signs that it was coming, but I think the majority of FPL players certainly missed out on him second half of the season.
I was never saying stop talking about it. To be honest, I'm grateful that you mentioned him so much, because I got on the bandwagon for the last 8 or 9 game weeks of the season, and he did return to some decent points for me. And that was the perfect time to get him.
I think it was January 19th. I think he had 11 goal involvements, which is the same as Hazard and Sterling. So,
when's that from, Bradley?
Up to
January 19th, I think.
Okay.
From January 19th, he had the same involvement as Hazard and Sterling, but not as much as the praise as probably them pair get.
Yeah, and we'll talk about the price difference, obviously. Bradley, just tell us a little bit about your FPL history and why Wolves. I think we can tell from the accent you're a local boy.
But I did start playing, I think it was 2012-13, but I can't find my email for that one. So I just dragged up my old ones. The earliest one, 2014-15, finished, I had 2,000 points, finished 213k. Season after that, 258k. My best season's 16-17, finished in the top 5,000.
Nice.
Oh, that's a good finish.
That was why I approached him.
This season
higher than either of us.
And where did you finish last year, Bradley?
Last year, 300,000.
Okay. I said, don't worry, all the correspondents be better than such. It's not a problem, mate. And Wolves, I take it it's the local team, is it?
Yeah.
How long?
Some might
You're a
say
season ticket.
Warsaw, but no.
No, you wouldn't do that, mate. You're a season ticket holder, right?
Say that again, James.
I said you're a season ticket holder, aren't you?
Yeah.
How long have you had that for?
I got my first season ticket was in the second season back in the Premier League. So I think that was 2011-12. It was my first one. Probably later than most people, to be fair.
So you've been going basically the whole decades then, Bradley.
That's made me feel old now saying that.
Talk to me about your feelings going back. What we going back here? About 5 years.
Yeah.
Dean Saunders sacked from the club, relegated to League One.
Uh-huh.
Where was the club at that point?
Into the abyss, to be honest. I remember the Burnley game at home. It was the last home game. I think we drawed 1-1, and that basically said we were going down. There's a pitch invasion and all sorts. I just remember standing there going, I don't know where we was going to get next, to be honest, because the investment was getting drier and drier. We had bloody Dean Saunders. It was I hate that man the most in football.
That's why I intentionally brought him up. I knew you were going to say that.
I hate that man so much. Just looking at him, seeing him talk on the radio, anything like that.
Yeah.
That'll.
He talks complete and utter codswallops. Honestly, he's one of the worst pundits I've seen on the telly.
We're too good to go down. We don't need to do anything to stay up. I was like, mate, you don't understand how shit we am at the minute.
So then,
you ain't making it no better. God's sake.
So then, from there, Kenny Jackett came in and stabilised the club, right? And then it took 2 years to come back up to the Championship, I think. And then he got dismissed, and you got the investment then. Mm-hmm. Can you tell us a little bit about the owners and their role, and how rich are they?
How rich? Ooh. I think they're even richer now. I think they made a 3.3 billion profit or something like that. Something stupid this year.
Yeah.
So
they're a conglomerate, which means they're an investment company.
Yeah.
They're one of the biggest in China. I think I read somewhere they're trying to get involved in that HS2 line with the train.
Okay.
Which obviously go through the West Midlands, so don't know if that might be something to do with owning Wolves. You never know. They own a share in Mendes' company, Gestifute, which everyone knows about.
Yeah, which is where all the scouting and the talent's coming through that way as well, right?
Yeah, it looks like Mendes, to me anyways, from what I've read, as a circle of clubs. So they've got like Atletico Madrid, Benfica, Monaco, Braga. I think Deportivo might be one, I'm not sure. And
Wolves.
Sort of has a influence at those clubs as well. Now he's got clearly Wolves, whether people like it or not.
Interesting. And then Walter Zenga was appointed. And Nuno used to be a goalkeeper as well, right?
Yeah.
He did.
So nobody does this. You never see goalkeeper coaches. You appointed 2 in a row. What's the idea here?
Zenga. I remember hiring Zenga. That was proper random. And when I think about it now, I was actually excited when they signed Zenga. I don't know why, looking back, because his CV is atrocious.
Yeah,
he's a proper he's a proper lunatic. I mean, you can get your fans love him, but you wouldn't trust him. You wouldn't trust him with anything. I mean, we got battered at home, Barnsley 4-0. You know what I mean? Like.
Well, this is part why, obviously, having you on, I kind of just wanted to take you on that journey a little bit, because you highlighting things there like losing 4-0 at home to Barnsley. It's not that long ago. We're only talking a few years here.
It feels years ago now. It don't even feel like the same football club anymore.
Well, it won't do, mate, because obviously with the ownership and obviously with the man in charge now, Nuno, it's a completely different... It's not just in terms of status. You're watching a completely different brand of football that I think...
Oh, yeah.
The fans wouldn't have seen since probably the early 80s, maybe.
Maybe even the 50s when there was the...
Yeah, possibly, mate. So, talk to us briefly about Nuno and where obviously all this Portuguese influence comes from.
Nuno. Right. the total opposite of Dean Saunders.
Got that, yeah.
So where Dean Saunders is your least favourite
He's
man
the
in football,
Emperor of
Nuno
Wolverhampton.
is.
By
Yeah.
he's
I
got
really,
the whole
really.
football club on strings. Honestly, he can say what he wants, do what he wants.
I've
Everyone
got a
just
lot of
listens to
time
him.
for Nuno.
You love him, Suj, don't you?
I really do. I
Yeah.
really honestly thought that if Manchester United had their head screwed on, that he was potentially the next guy that they were going to. And it's just about the way he carries himself, the way he talks and speaks in interviews. He's very eloquent. He looks like he's got the respect of the players. He's obviously tactically very intelligent because he's been able to mix it up with Wolves. And by no means am I comparing Wolves to West Ham in any way, but similarly, we always seem to get up for the big games, and you did this season as well, where your record against the top six was better than the lower half of the table. I have more faith in Wolves fixing their issues with the lower half teams than I do my own club, West Ham, to be honest. So it's going to be really interesting to see. But I do think Nuno, I love saying his name, Nuno Espirito Santos, is a real top manager.
What next, Bradley, in terms of, I mean, to take it from that status of a few years ago to now being in Europe? You start in late July, is that right?
Yeah, I think it's like July 17th. I think they get the draw.
It's early.
Then it's really early, and the problem with that is they've booked themselves onto like those shitty Asian prison tours in China, which Fosun will be desperate to want now.
Oh, so you're already booked in for that? Are you in like the Asia Cup? I
Yeah.
think they're in the Asia Cup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were in that.
And
They
China
announced
as
that
well.
before they
Oh,
got
and
into
you're still
Europe.
playing in
yeah.
that?
And they've got the AFCON, and which is really worrying me is the Gold Cup in America for Jimenez. I don't think he gets back till like late July.
Oh,
And
really?
with it being
That's
Mexico,
interesting.
I'm going to expect him to get pretty far.
Yeah, of course. And African Nations is in July as well, is that
Yeah.
right?
We've only got
So
Sace.
who would you have go from that? Who would you have go to that?
Sace, I think.
Traore.
Nah, that's Traore's Spanish.
Fuck off Traore.
I don't know who he plays for, what his nationality is.
I don't know what is Traore. Where's
Isn't
Traore
he
from?
Ivory Coast
Spain,
or
I
something?
think. Spain.
Is he Spanish?
Yeah.
Is he?
There you go.
I thought all your players were Portuguese, mate.
Yeah, true.
I didn't realise the African nations and all that was going to be a problem. So that actually, in terms of the crossover there and the preparation for the new season, that could be quite disturbing then, actually.
Can be. I think they're going to have to use the youngsters. They've put a lot of investment in the youth system, so if they don't use them there, they're never going to use them.
Well, I mean, some of the teams you can draw in sort of the second qualifying in Europa can be pretty ringers, haven't they? But like Burnley pulled out Aberdeen last year, didn't they?
Yeah.
Now, I'm not talking up the level of Scottish football, but obviously Aberdeen gave Burnley 2 games,
Yeah.
didn't they?
They definitely
Wolves
did.
won't want a draw like that and having
No.
to put out their youth team.
No.
No.
So
I mean, the biggest issue is looking at Burnley's season, right? You just don't want Wolves to have the same issues that Burnley had last season, and it is you can see the similarities in overachieving and doing particularly well. I just think Wolves are a better team, but that doesn't mean they've got better strength in depth, and the strength in depth is what actually really tells eventually.
is it a big fear for you, Bradley, the size of the squad?
At the minute, it is. If they get proper European football, if they get to the group stages and such. But I'm sure it'll be addressed because they're not idiots now running the club. They've sort of got a plan of where they want to be and stuff. And I think something that people have forgot is, unlike Burnley, like Nuno is actually used to playing European football with his clubs. And a lot of the players that we have at the club, like Moutinho, Neves, Jota, Jimenez, probably
Patricio.
Bolly, they're used to it. It's just something that they're used to. Most of their career has been spent playing European football. Whereas
Quite-
the Burnley players are like Sean Dyche, it's literally a brand new experience for them.
Yeah, of course.
That's a good point,
No,
to be
it's
fair.
absolutely right. But one of the things I'd highlight, I think you had, Bradley, 9 players last year who played 3,000 or more minutes in the league. No, you can
Yeah,
only get to
probably.
3,420. Like 9
Yeah, yeah.
players played.
With the size of the squad.
There's
Yeah.
such a settled first team.
Yep.
I think Hotter wasn't even one of them.
No.
So you had such a settled spine through the team, and let's be honest, you were quite fortunate on the injury front last season.
Yeah, there was. I mean, if Jimenez or Jota got injured last season, especially in the second half, we probably nudged, to be honest, going forward. Because that's one of our big weaknesses. We can't change games from the bench at all.
Yeah, the guys
We don't even bring on
Caballero,
Cavallero or Costa,
Yeah.
and Costa's just...
Costa, and that they've not done the
broke.
business when they've had the chance, have they?
Not really.
To be f-
Cavallero's really hit and miss, but I think
mean,
he's probably going to Fulham, to be honest, by the sound of it. That might be a transfer that'll happen.
I'm sitting here shaking my head with the statement you can't change games from the bench, because I clearly remember the second home game for the season for us was against Wolves, and Traore came off the bench and scored in injury time to win the game for you guys.
And you know
so you can change games from the bench. And it hurt me.
You know how many goals Traore got last season, didn't you?
One, probably.
Well, of course, yeah.
So
The only time he shot on target, probably.
yeah, and it was to hurt my boys. Oh well.
Am I right in saying Bradley Doherty was joint with 4 was your third highest scorer? There's such a reliance on the front two, isn't there? From goals.
There is. Because on midfield, they'll score goals either. That's one thing they need in the summer bad, a goal scoring midfielder. Because especially against the teams that sit in, we have struggled to break them down. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the midfield we've got, but they're all a bit the same in a way. Like, Den Donker's ended up being a box-to-box guy. He might grab a few more goals next season, because he does get in the box and he's a unit. But for natural goal-scoring midfielders, we really lack. There's only Gibbs White.
That's hard though when you've got two footballers like Moutinho and Neves.
Yeah.
Who are obviously so cultured with the ball and they're forward thinking.
Yeah, we can't drop them. It'll have to
be honest, yeah, you're going to look at them two being. I mean, Dendonka sort of lines up on the right of the three now, doesn't he? As the runner, but I mean, yeah, that's a difficult one. It's a lower case to what we've kind of had with Spurs a little bit, where people go, oh, how can you improve the team?
Yeah,
in terms of your purchases and actually Wolves in terms of being 7th. You look at that team a little bit and go, okay, right-sided centre half, bit more depth.
Yeah.
But other than that, to actually strengthen the side and push to the top six, I think that's going to be the massive next challenge. Because what you need first of all is quality depth rather than quality to improve that first 11, I think.
Yeah, the first 11, I mean, it's really predictable. It's not hard to predict the team that you're coming against with Wolves half the time. I mean, I think they got a record, didn't they, at the start of the season for the most unchanged team. I think it was
there
11
was a
games
lot in a
something?
row, yeah. It was about 11, I think, yeah.
Yep, you're right.
What did you make, Bradley, of the it was a slight tweak in formation during the season, wasn't there?
Yeah, the 3-4-3 to the 3-5-2. It works.
Can you just elaborate a little bit on that and what changed, essentially?
I think it's because when we had a sticky spell, we was getting absolutely overrun in midfield. We was getting, especially in the Premier League, the quality of the midfielders is a lot higher than in the Championship. And we was getting squashed in midfield and just hurried and harried and bullied, to be honest, at sometimes.
And our wide players like Costa and Cavallero were really doing it. So the 3-4-3 was failing. And Jota was injured, I think, at that point, and struggling himself. So we had to change it. Then Donker's made the biggest difference to the change, especially the second half of the season, to get the form that we did at the end. He's been the difference.
Is he a potential FPL asset next year?
If he's 4.5 million...
I looked at him a few times.
He's okay.
At sort of 4.3 towards the end.
He's definitely. I mean, we're recording so early in the summer before the prices have been announced and the fixtures have been announced. So it is a bit tricky when to say kind of are people FPL assets. But there's no reason for Dendoncker to go up in price. He wasn't tearing it up with goals and assists. But the second half of the season, last quarter of the season, he really is a cheap bench option, isn't he, at 4.5?
What's tricky for Wolves in evaluating prices next year is, all right, you're quite right what you're saying there about, say, Dendoncker. There's no reason for him to come in at 5, for example.
No.
But the status of the football club's changed, right?
A little, yeah.
Massively. So we've gone from saying, okay, promoted side. Now, we were all kind of in the know going, not to blow the trumpet, Bradley, but we're all kind of looking at it going, this is the best team that's come up in a long time. Yep. And it's been proven. So the status now of looking at the club is going, well, you're putting them price-wise, realistic in the same brackets of sort of yourselves, West Ham, Everton, Leicester. You're putting them in that sort of area. So naturally, the sort of budgets like Dendoncker could come in at higher.
Yeah, but it won't be massively higher because he's still the equivalent of a Mark Noble or a holding midfielder, or he's not one of your creative midfielders. They'll never get as expensive as the likes of Sigurdsson
I
or
think-
Richarlison
no.
or Felipe Anderson. Then Donker will still be cheap. But if you're going cheap, you want him at 4.5. Even 5 is a waste of money at that point. That $500,000's a waste of money. So yeah, then Donker really at 4.5 is the one.
So like Moutinho was 5.5 and he dropped 0.4 during the season, Bradley.
Then he got his
eight
assist
assists.
rack up.
There was quite a run of them, wasn't there, towards the second half? So he took over
Yeah,
a
his
lot of the
set-piece
corners and that,
delivery
didn't
was-
he?
Yeah, his set piece delivery, I think at one point it was the highest in European football for the accuracy of his set pieces.
Which is mad when you consider Neves' his delivery and obviously what he can do with a dead ball as well. If they were both priced at 5 next year, Bradley, Neves and Moutinho,
Yeah.
and you had to go for one, which way would you go?
Oh,
Because I think the instinct
Neves.
now, I
Neves,
thought he was going to say
because-
Moutinho.
Really, I would have said
I'm going to say
Neves, but
Neves because he'll have more shots at goal. I think because Moutinho, I doubt he even managed 20 shots at goal, to be honest, throughout the whole season. He only scored one.
But
Yeah.
Neves,
That was against Man
Neves
United.
only gets in the box if he's taking a penalty.
yeah, but he's got a sweet foot from
More
outside the
chances
box.
Yeah, that's true.
I'd be really
Moutinho.
for me. The answer to that's really that revolves around set pieces. I want to know who's taking the set pieces more and more. And if Neves is taking the majority, then I'd definitely be.
I think
be looking at
Moutinho's on all the wide set pieces generally now, Bradley. Is that right?
So again, James.
Moutinho is generally on all the wide set pieces, so the corners and free kicks in
he
that
is,
area.
Neves will hang outside the box and get ready to absolutely
Yeah.
slap it one if it falls
That's
through.
his role, mate.
Yeah.
Is to sit outside the box and slam the
Just,
thing.
whack it in.
'Cause he's got a great shot on him.
Yeah.
What do we think defensively, Bradley, in terms of sort of price points we might expect of obviously Doherty and
I
people
think
like?
Doherty might end up a 6 million or
Do you think
Wow.
really? I can't see
so
that.
expensive. 5.5.
I think 5.5. Yeah.
6 is
if it's
6
5
is
and a
your
half, I'd
top
be happy with
4.
that. I don't know. I think their admin seem to love him a bit too much. Like pushed him forward, like in all the things he did. I don't know if they might inflate his price.
There's a big growth in the defender though. So what is 4.5 and obviously dropped to 4.4 Doherty. Finished at 5.3, I think.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big jump. I mean, Wan-Bissaka was 4. Wan-Bissaka never got higher than 4.6 if you think
Yeah,
about it.
yeah.
So, you know, he had a big jump through the season, consistent. I think there's a fear that even the alternative sort of Bolly,
Johnny's the one for
and
me.
Johnny, yeah, but Bolly's BPS was really good.
Massive.
Johnny obviously
Bolly.
eye test passes a lot in the same way that Doherty does. I think Bolly and Johnny could well be 5, I think.
As
I
high as
think,
that.
I think so.
depending on how pre-season goes, Ruben Vinagre could be one to watch.
You think so?
He could push Johnny out the team, I think. He's
Still
really growing now.
quite
And
young,
he's
Bradley, yeah?
Yeah. He just turned 20. He's still 19. He's 19 or 20.
Is he
He's playing
Portuguese?
at the World Cup currently for their under 20s. Watched him the other day. He was excellent again.
Is he Portuguese?
Yeah.
Well, obviously.
2 million bargain from Monaco.
Yeah. That's interesting
So
to keep
good
an eye on
going
because
forward.
with
So
his
good.
minutes this season, he obviously didn't get. He's not due a price rise, in my opinion. So the thing with Wolves is if Doherty defensively does jump up to 5.5 or 6, I'm ruling him out straight away. And then I am looking at one of the cheaper options, which would be Johnny. I'm just a cheap guy, really. I like to always go with the cheaper alternative. But the thing is, Doherty was consistent. There was a patch in the middle, but you're paying a premium for that consistency. He gets in the box so much.
Johnny or Bolly again at 4.5, I would like.
Yeah.
I think. Doherty 5.5 is so borderline. We got to think we're all thinking already how we fitting in Robertson and all the light next season.
The others which are even more expensive.
Yeah, you're going to afford to talk your Doherty levels as well.
Yeah.
I don't know. Just mentioning now, obviously, Vinagre, Bradley.
Yeah.
Another young lad I wanted to ask you about who we really like what we saw of. You can tell us if there's any other kids we should be watching out for. Gibbs White looks a super talent.
Gibbs White could be a big season for Gibbs White next season, just because if we're in European football, he's going to have to be used more.
Yeah.
And it'd be good for him. I think any of the top young players, Noel Ennis might be one to watch if he can get in there. At least play European football. He's a young striker. He's been unlucky with a few injuries, but every time I've seen him play in the youth teams, he looks like he's got something about him.
he looked like Bradley was going to sort of, kind of around the time you changed from the 3-4-3 to the 3-5-2, he really looked like he was going to break in as one of sort of the two behind Jimenez. Do you think the change of formation kind of had a negative impact on his minutes?
Gibbs White.
Yeah.
Yeah. If against a whole match at Chelsea, he started that one and he was really, really good, but then he sort of tailed off again. But given his age, I'm not going to over criticise him or anything.
No,
I mean, he's got a lot of
technical.
potential.
I mean, he came on against us when you nearly pulled it back against us in November.
Yeah,
and he was unbelievable. As soon as he got on the ball, he looked like such a talent.
It's interesting.
We can't let you go, Bradley, without talking about the front two and what your expectations are in terms of price points next season for them. And will Hotter be a forward?
Jota will definitely be a forward.
Because when we did the live show, that was quite a debate in terms. Quite a few didn't think that he would get reclassified. I'm fairly certain that he will be.
Yeah, I think he definitely will be. I think he was just a pure striker in the end.
Well, your account even took the piss out of him pre-season, didn't they? As in the Wolves official account said,
they were poking fun at the official FPL, saying you're the ones that classify him as a midfielder. We've always had him as a forward. Are you quite an emotional FPL player, Bradley? In terms of, do you always have a couple of Wolves players, and are you thinking that you're going to start next season with a couple of Wolves players?
Oh, could you say that again?
Are you quite an emotional FPL player in terms of? Do you think you're going to be starting next season with a couple of Wolves players? Do you always have a couple of your home team players in your squad or your team?
I tried to be rational.
Yeah.
I kept Jota for a long time at the start. I was like, come on, you can do it. You'll do it now. Do it now. I had to just fight the bullets and just get rid of him. So it was the saddest thing ever.
Yeah.
Just staring at the screen going, I'm sorry. And I the Infinity War and he throws away Gamora.
To all the people who followed him.
Yeah.
What do we think then, Bradley, in terms of the price of those two? Because I think go ahead.
7 million striker.
Hotter.
It's not a bad price.
Yeah, which I'll take.
I'd go with that.
It's not a bad price at all.
He'll be in at that price, I think.
But I think Jimenez is third best scorer this season. I reckon they might pump him to 8.
Yeah, I would have said 8 as well. That was what I was feeling.
I think I'd avoid him at 8 million. I'd rather go for Jota, I think.
That's interesting.
Agreed.
I think in terms of the numbers he's produced, and again, comparing, like I said, status to what Wolves are now, I think he might come in at sort of 8.5 as closer to Vardy.
It's going to be something a bit too inflated for me, I think. I'd rather have Jota.
I don't know if I'm going to do this or not, but as good as Wolves are, and as many options as there are throughout the kind of price brackets, obviously not the premiums, but your mid-tier and your budget options, I may avoid altogether just because of this stupid Europa League. There's something that makes me feel a little uncomfortable. I'd rather wait 4 or 5 weeks into the season, see how Wolves are coping, and then decide whether I want which assets I want, because that Europa League year in, year out has always been a bastard for clubs. And even the top 6 clubs like Arsenal's and Chelsea's that are in it causes some problems.
He's still going to be quite right, Bradley, what you said in terms of obviously Nuno's experience, and people like Moutinho and that have obviously experienced it. But as a club, and obviously even as a fan base as well, this is new, right? Like if you don't make the group stage, you're going to be gutted, aren't you?
I'll be gutted, but then I'll be thinking myself, this is the Wolves I know. this is like back to reality.
Is there still a bit of that, Bradley, like waiting for it to fall?
Oh yeah, especially older fans, especially like my uncle who I go with.
Yeah,
he's still like, oh well, I wonder if it'll get tipped up then as soon as possible and stuff like that. But after the Arsenal match at home when we won, they were just driving back, and you're just quiet. All of a sudden, you just went, I can't believe this is my team now.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
I love it.
I think it's starting to seep in now. That's something different at Wolves.
Yeah.
Even with the older fans, because I mean, I've talked to a few older fans who've seen like the top teams that we've had in the history, and even they're saying like this could challenge them, and that Moutinho might be the best player to wear the top, like that good. And these are people who have seen like
Steve Ball,
the gods of Wolves.
Yeah, you going back
I mean,
even before
that is some
Bradley's
high
time
praise.
now,
He's
weren't
about
you?
the
Steve
greatest
Ball,
Wolves player ever.
Was it 360 odd goals Steve Ball got? It was 1 or 2, wasn't
Yeah.
it? I think one of the big things for Wolves next year, Bradley, is going to be, like you said, there's kind of that element of it will fall, this is too good to be true, etc. Is what you'll get is, particularly if you start well and you're doing well in Europe as well, expectations, mate, amongst that fan base are going to change. And then suddenly, if you're hovering around 10th, 11th, I don't have to vibe, and the mood around the club might change a little bit because expectations will naturally grow. And the problem with that 7th position is to push to 6th, it's not that far, but it's miles.
Yeah. It really is. It is a real big mountain to jump.
If I said to you now, Bradley, you can have, say, last 16 of Europe next year and you finish about 10th, would you take that?
What's the other option?
You're fucked.
Relegation.
You can go back to Barnsley, mate.
Oh.
Because that's got to be progressive, and it's sustainability.
I'd prioritize things trying to push up again in the league, if I'm honest.
Do you think you're capable of pushing, say, United or Spurs?
Spurs is probably not Spurs.
Thanks, Bradley.
Man United look like them just imploding all over the place at the minute.
They're going to spend money, aren't they? That's the problem.
They'll
But
spend
on
a lot of money.
what? They're so unpredictable, Manchester United. I could easily see Wolves or even Leicester under Rodgers or Everton seem to be picking up form at the back end of the season. It's going to be a lot tighter around that 7th, 6th, 7th, 8th than it was this year.
Although we joked all season about sort of Wolves,
The curse of
Watford,
7th.
all that stuff. But you look at Wolves, Leicester, Everton, and yourselves to a certain extent, Serge.
the mighty West Ham,
Like, decent sides, right?
Yeah.
It's not automatically to go, Wolves are definitely
Everyone's
gonna
getting
finish
better,
7th
and
again.
we also know Newcastle are about to get a couple of billion and buy Mbappe and Gareth Bale and Sergio Ramos and everyone else who's available. So it's going to be tough next season. The Premier League's getting tougher and tougher and tougher. I don't know if you have any thoughts, but let's touch on it while we've got you on the line. You were in the Championship a little more recently than my West Ham and obviously Spurs. I've hardly ever been down there. What are your thoughts on the 3 promoted clubs coming up this season? Now that we've got Villa confirmed, I really didn't want Villa to come up. Just can I say that? Because there's already enough claret and blue in the bloody league with us and Burnley, and now there's 3 claret and blue teams.
I can't believe, Serge, that you asked such a good question.
Oh wow, James is shocked.
It's a brilliant question. Go for it, Bradley.
What did he ask about the promoted side?
Yeah. In terms of Sheffield United.
How much shitter than Wolves are they?
Well,
quite a lot.
Be kind about the Villa.
I think Villa will need a lot of investment.
but they got the money. Villa have got the money with their owners.
Jack Grealish is the sort of player I'd like at the Wolves, to be honest.
He ain't
Some
leaving
more
there
fans
now,
might
is
not
he?
want to hear that, but he's a good footballer. Midfield do we need?
Yeah, he played well
Like that.
yesterday.
I think Sheffield United might be a surprise people.
I agree.
You look at the team, you think it's defensive, but it's quite forward thinking, and it's not the sort of style you might expect from them, especially with the wing backs.
Yeah,
I might be looking at Edna Stevens for FPL or Boulder.
I think Sheffield United are already coming in with a reputation of past Sheffield Uniteds, and they're a different side. And Norwich, I've said previously, I don't know how much you watched them last year, Bradley, but they could be anything because they'll score goals, but defensively think like Fulham.
Norwich might be I'll have to watch Norwich first in the Premier League. I like the fullback Aaron, the young lad. He looks a good player.
Yeah, they've got two good attacking fullbacks, Norwich.
But as I don't know about their squad, really. They look like a bunch of randomly signed up players. When I look at their squad, I've never heard of any of them. That's like Tuti. He was like a nobody at Celtic.
Listen, a lot of us said no to your team this time last year, mate.
Yeah, it's true. I'm curious. No one's talked about the West Ham Sheffield United rivalry from the Tevez days when Sheffield United got relegated.
Well, when we have FPL Blade on, we'll talk about it.
Yeah, I think we will. But it's one of those. I'm looking forward to the Sheffield United game because that's going to be quite tasty. There'll still be a little bit of animosity,
why
say,
are you
from then.
Descending this fast into Bradley's podcast.
I don't know. We're just talking about the promoted clubs that are coming up, aren't we?
What's next for Wolves, Bradley? Seriously. What's the ambition next season?
Oh,
That's the problem, isn't it?
that's
It's been so good this year. I think to replicate and push on is going to be
to
tough.
That's a good question. Like, even I'm sitting here now thinking, I think it really depends what they're saying.
I think I would
That
settle
might
for
set
last
the- I
16
think that
and
might
Europa
set the
League and 10th,
precedent.
mate. You should
Exactly.
take that
I mean,
offer.
you're in a privileged situation, James, where your club year in year out are challenging in the top 6 and what have you. But for teams like West Ham and Wolves, sometimes it's better just to sit where you are rather than always looking to take a next step forward, take a next step forward.
No. I think
I remember getting relegated, and like just that thought inside me is like, I'll take 10th or 11th or 12th and just a little bit of stability, and let's beat a couple of the top 6 sides home or away or whatever, and have those big days. But I'm not in a rush to suddenly want to break into the top 6, and even the likes of Wolves and what have you. All of these clubs should sometimes just take stock and chill where we are in the middle of the table, because I'd rather be 11th or 12th and have a boring season than 17th and have my
No.
heart in my
That's
mouth, you
part
know?
of what I'm saying. We know about
Exactly.
this second season bollocks, right?
Yeah,
How many
yeah,
times
it's
has it
true.
caught you out where teams like Reading have come up and you've gone, oh, they're a good side. They finished 7th, 8th. Next year, binned, gone. Ipswich, similar a few years before that.
Yeah.
So I don't think that will happen to this Wolves side. I can't possibly see it.
No, I've got no fear about that.
No, but I think Suj is right in terms of stability next year will be okay. My personal honest opinion is if you finish top half again and do well in Europe, that's an amazing
Yeah,
achievement.
to finish in the top half and get around about Europa League again, then that's successful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it will be. It's not break the mold in 1 year, I
I
think.
think what Wolves might have an advantage in with the players are signing is obviously Mendes. Now they're in European football, sort of unlocks another page in his contact book, probably.
You get to the VIP section in his little black book of super agent.
I just quickly, I did mean to mention to you, Bradley. I understand that the single tier behind the goal, that's going to be safe standing next year. Is that right?
Yeah. I think I'm doing it now. It'll be done. I don't know if it'll be done for maybe like the first European home game in the qualifiers.
Okay.
I don't know if it'll be done for them, but it'll definitely be done for the opening Premier League.
And is the intention to rebuild the whole place essentially?
Yeah, in the end, yeah. I think they released an image of what it would look like recently.
Because they were going to the opposite ends. Forgive me, I don't know the name of the stand, which has been rebuilt to the 2-tier behind the other goal. The idea was to wrap that around 3 sides, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But I understand that's
went
changed now, and it's going to be the main end is still going to be a single tier.
Yeah, they want it to be one of the biggest, I think.
I think the target eventually is 50,000, isn't it?
Yeah, something. Yeah, 50,000. I think the one.
Is the club big enough?
I think it honestly has to be like doing extremely well. Probably still 50,000 a week.
I like that Bradley didn't just go yes.
You got to think about these things.
Nah, you've got to be realistic.
Because in the area you do have West Brom and Villa and Birmingham City and stuff. So it's not like a one. Wolverhampton, sure, it's a one club city, but it's not a big city. Whereas the likes of
there's a lot of overlap
Newcastle
in the
or
areas.
what have you, obviously, is a real one club city.
Got any comments on West Brom, Bradley? Careful.
Mediocrity for a long time, I think. Their owner their owner, I don't know if it's a big joke in the Midlands, but their owner does not invest. I think I read a headline off the paper the other day saying he actually owes the club money now.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow. Right,
And
that's
they
the
have to
problem.
take out a loan to pay for the overdraft or something like that. So I can't see them coming close to Wolves anytime soon.
No, I think they would have had to come back straight away, wouldn't they, unfortunately for them? Or not unfortunately, as you would say. Bradley, thank you, mate. That's been an absolute pleasure going through. Top FPL Wolves tips next season, if you can finish on that.
Jota over Jimenez.
Price dependent,
And watch-
presumably?
Of course.
Yeah, and watch out for Vinagre. Because the European games, if they get to the group stage, the rotation, that's one big one to watch, actually.
All right, noted. Thank you very much, mate.
A lot. Yeah, we really appreciate your time to come on and talk about it. I know it's so early in the pre-season and the kind of downtime that people are having away from FPL, but you can find Bradley on Twitter at Parker_Bradley. If you're a regular listener, you'll know about Bradley because of the amazing articles he was writing all season.
Because your love for him.
Exactly.
Do you not want to just announce it now?
Yeah. Well. But next season, I'm going to be keeping an even closer eye because of the obvious value that there will be at Wolves, as well as the complications of European football and what have you that come with it. But thank you so much for joining us, Bradley. We'll hopefully be having you on more and more throughout the season to speak about Wolves and get your take on what is and isn't happening there throughout the season.
We're conquering Europe.
Good lad. Good luck.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Thanks for listening to all of you. That was day 3 of our 30 in 30. Tune in tomorrow for episode 4, where we come back to you with another show. Anything to add, James?
No. Thank you, Bradley. Cue music, man.
Thanks, Joe.
Ciao for now.